Welcome to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a global vitiligo awareness and education podcast. You will hear the true and authentic stories from people living with vitiligo. You'll also hear from their loved ones, medical professionals, licensed mental health therapists, relationship counselors, global vitiligo support foundations and organizations, community leaders, and so much more. Sit back and enjoy Living Life and Love. Once again, I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. So yes, I'm back with another special guest. And guess what? I'm not going to say my guest name. I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves.
Mark, good evening. It's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me today.
You're welcome.
My name is Christopher Glover. I'm a Philadelphia native. I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina for the last, 40 years. Married to my gorgeous dream, my queen, for the past 27 years. We have 3 children. I love the Lord, and I love writing, and just enjoy life.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate the opportunity to be on this show. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome, Chris. And thank you for wanting to come on. And we do have something in common. We both like writing. My friends that know me know I like to write. And if you've been listening to the podcast, I've talked about that. And I always say God gives us gifts.
Yes.
And whatever gift he gives you, you have to use it. If not, he'll take it away.
Yes, he will.
Or he'll give it to somebody else. Then you'd be jealous. So Chris, once again, thank you. And one thing you'll see on my show, I do like to have fun. I'll laugh, and we could be serious, and I might crack a joke, but that's me in a nutshell. So let's get into playwriting, because I think playwriting is so exciting. Before we jump into it, now I had an opportunity to participate in a play many years ago, back when I was in college. Those that attended Shaw University, they know HBK, one of the Shaw players.
Sure.
And HB asked me to become one of the Shaw players, and I said, absolutely not. No, can't do it. Not getting on the stage. I don't want to be in front of people. And he asked me several times. And he asked my mother, because she worked at the university, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't. I was too afraid, But let's dig into playwriting. How many years have you been writing your plays? And then we'll get into some of the other conversations about that. Maybe also let us know a few of the plays you've written.
Sure. Well, Mark, I'll be honest with you. My playwriting started when I got into my 30s. Similar to your passion for poetry, I actually used to write poetry quite a bit. Even thought about, writing books and poetry and whatever. And for some reason, as I got older, that seemed not to be as interesting to me. So one day in July of 1999, I was sitting down at my desktop, no rhyme or reason, just started typing, and next thing I know, came out this play called One Man's Desire, which basically covered a gentleman who has fallen in love with this young lady, has 3 children, and he's never been a step parent. And now he's got to navigate as to how to take care of 3 children he knows nothing about. And is it really worth the relationship to struggle with them not liking him for the sake of keeping her love? And so it went from that to currently 35 plays since then.
Wow.
And I just love writing plays in my spare time. And sometimes they come pretty easily. Sometimes it takes a little while to really get them written. But that's how it all got started.
Wow. I like that inspiration because, I also write short stories for children. So my poetry for the adults, short stories for kids.
Gotcha.
And when I write, I started writing back when I was in college, but I never shared with anybody. I didn't want anybody to read anything. It was all personal.
Sure.
Not until, maybe 2015 or so, something around that time frame. I was going through divorce, and you're just having a hard time trying to process things. And one of my colleagues said, well, I know you like to write. Why don't you write your thoughts down? And I did, but I did it in the form of a poem. And
Gotcha.
from there, I said, okay, let me get all the negative thoughts out.
Mm,
And then I started processing and putting positive thoughts about relationships,
sure.
and that's what I like to write about, relationships. And I haven't
Hmm.
stopped. I haven't
Wow.
looked back, and um, my evolution is a little bit different. As you say, as you get older, things change.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I was excited, so I'm going to go to a poetry reading and read some of my poetry. COVID hit. Well, that was canceled. No, the first two times I chickened out. I sure did.
Okay.
And the last time I said, okay, I'm going to do it, and COVID hit. And
Sure.
I said, okay, I want to share my poetry because it maybe it'll resonate with someone.
Right.
And I did it on a podcast for Vit Friends. And from there, I was like,
Mm,
ooh, I like this.
okay.
But then I said, I need to take it a step further. And then I started reciting, like actually reading it and
Oh, wow.
recording it.
Oh,
Then I
wow.
said, okay, I like to create music for my podcast. Why don't I just make a song? And I started listening to it in the car, but I still wouldn't share it with anybody.
Wow.
And then I
Wow.
started adding it to the podcast recently, and I was like, just put it out
Okay.
there.
Wow.
Um, and I think
Wow.
that's how it works sometimes.
Sure.
So let me ask you, what were some of your inspirations behind your work?
Uh, you were telling your story, Mark, and I'm thinking, you almost mirror my past because a lot of my pain and my writing come from my divorce. I was
Right.
married for 10 years, and it just didn't work out. I thought, she was the perfect woman, and unfortunately, we had separate beliefs, and we just went down different paths, and we decided that it was just best for both of us to go our separate ways. And after my love for poetry, like I say, just kind of started diminishing. I love watching movies.
Right.
I love going to the theater. Love watching TV movies. But I wonder what it's like to write. And honestly, the inspiration really just came from main life experiences. I'll pick a subject matter like love or domestic violence or Christmas or something. Which Christmas is my favorite time of year,
Yes.
as it is many. And I just deal with that. I may have a friend who may tell me about a story, and I say, "Wow," and I might turn that into a play. So I'm proud to say all 35 plays are original. God has given me a very unique gift to write original work versus having to piggyback off someone else. So a lot of my inspiration really just comes from my experiences. My wife of 27 years, we've been together 30 years actually. She's certainly how can I say, the backbone of a lot of what I write. So a lot of it I dedicate to her. And of course, my love for God. I've written a lot of faith-based plays. So they come from very, very different avenues and resources. But that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from.
Okay. And for people out there listening, love is still alive. So if you ever think love is not alive, it's still there. And it's good to hear that from a male
Yes.
perspective, because sometimes, people think men don't fall in love, and men are not in love. Yeah, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah, we
do.
do. And when I say men don't cry, yeah, we do.
We do. Yes, we cry, and it's funny because when I write poetry, um, I write about different scenarios in terms of relationships.
Right.
And people ask, well, is that based on like a relationship you in? No, no. I said I've never experienced that,
Right.
but that's why I imagine what it would feel like being in this type of relationship. Or
Right.
um the last two, actually last three that I wrote,
Mhm.
one was called Invisibility, and it
Mm.
dealt with insecurities, and that was based on me,
Okay.
dealing with my own insecurities and how to combat those things, because sometimes you do feel invisible.
Right.
And then fear, and fear was more about the fear of being in love, being in a relationship that didn't work, and what
Mm.
comes with that. So, and sometimes I hesitate, like, do I put that out there? Oh,
Yeah.
that's personal. And once I hit that button, it's like, well, it's out there
It's
now.
out there.
Can't
Yeah.
take it back.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll write, like the last one I just did. It's kind of interesting. It is a rock and roll sounding song, but it's
Right.
about having vitiligo and having
Mm.
support from the vitiligo community.
Okay.
Don't ask me how I came up with that, but it, And I think it's just being creative. And I think
Sure.
as a writer, you understand that creativity comes from anywhere at any time
At times,
and
yes,
in
sir.
random places.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's funny you say that because out of my 35 plays, probably 30% came when I was working at the gym. Mark, I can't explain it. I'm working out, sweating, dripping
Right.
sweat, drinking my Gatorade. I'm going, that's not a bad idea. And of course, I get home and start writing it down. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, your writing just comes at sometimes the most weirdest places, but it does happen.
And Chris, oh gosh, you say that. Sometimes driving to work or from work, and I'm just thinking, I'm driving, and I'm like, "Oh, how did I get this thought
Yeah.
down?"
Yep.
I go click on my phone, and I'm speaking it into my phone. Now I go back
Yep.
to read it. I'm like, "They didn't record that. I didn't say that." Voice to text will say whatever it wants, but
Yes, sir.
that's why I keep those ideas. But what's weird, sometimes it's in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, what are you doing? I'm trying to sleep, and you're giving
Yeah.
me all these thoughts, and I have to write them down, and then I can go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And there were times I've woken up in the middle of the night and I had to do the whole poem. I had to recite it. I pulled my laptop out. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You got to get up in 4 hours. Like, go back to sleep. But I think as a writer, that's how it is. Like, it's
Yes, sir.
random stuff.
It
And
is.
um, and I think people don't often understand that unless you're creative in that same way
Right.
when that inspiration hits you.
Mhm.
Are there any playwrights that you follow their work that you feel like, oh, I like the way they write, or
Right. To honestly, I'm being very candid with you, Mark. Not necessarily. I mean, I've seen a ton of plays. People have compared my work to Mr. Perry and to Augustus Wilson, but they had their own calling.
right,
God gave them their own gift. And what I've often told people that if you read their biography and know where they came from, God had a special calling for them. And he didn't give that to me. He did give me the ability to write, but he gave them their path. And
right,
God has given me my path. So I've allowed him to guide me in the direction which he's led me. You mentioned earlier about writing about things you haven't been through. One of the plays I wrote, if I could share,
oh
uh,
yes,
I, I wrote a play called Letters, and I've never been through a domestic violence situation at all, but my wife has. And the stories that she told me, which was very hard for her to do at first. And then after she kept, peeling off the layers and layers, I'm going, wow, you know. And one day I just found myself writing about an experience that I've never had, but my wife has.
right,
And in this play called Letters, this young lady is abused by her husband, but she finds love through someone else, and then she's torn between having a relationship with a man who is going to beat the living daylights out of her, or with a man that she knows that she's not worthy of his love.
mm,
And so she's kind of torn between. Of course, I won't give away the ending, but she is inspired through a series of letters. So the
right,
person she falls in love with, they exchange letters to keep her encouraged. But at the end, she realized, I'm going to have to make a decision on who I'm going to choose. So, you're right. Sometimes you just write about things that you don't have no experience in.
right.
One crazy market, this is a crazy one, so you're probably going to laugh your head off. If I get an idea and I'm not sure if there's something to write about, if it stays in my mind for 3 days, I'll write about it.
Yeah,
If after that third day I can't remember it, I don't write
right, right. No,
it.
no, no. That's how it works. And like when I write short stories for kids, like I'll get an idea, and it's like an anthology, a series of different stories, but
Sure.
it's based on animals and their adventures, and I'm going, why am I writing this? But that's how it works. And then I
Yes,
wrote a
it does.
short story, a Christmas. You mentioned Christmas. I love Christmas.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted an action adventure story set around Christmas time because I go to movies and stuff. And there
Mhm.
was one I saw. I said, what about an action adventure story for kids? But
Mm.
there's a twist to it, which once I finished writing it, um, It's really not even like a Santa Claus story, but there are characters and he is in it, but it's about another character. And I'm
Sure.
not going to give that away because if somebody's going to steal my idea, then I have to hunt them down.
Right. Right.
But that's how it is. Now, one of my friends, she challenged me several years ago. This is back in 2021.
Right.
She said, "Are there any stories about vitiligo in relationships?" She
Hmm.
said, "Because I've seen books about kids with growing up with vitiligo or going being in school with vitiligo." She said, "Any
Right.
love stories?" I'm like, "Not that I know of."
Hmm.
She said, "Well, why don't you write it?" I said, "No, because
Hmm.
I don't write love stories. I write poetry." She
Right.
said, "Well, what's the difference between you writing poetry and a love story? It's the same thing, right?"
Wow.
So I wrote it.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I'm going to go through and edit a few things, which I did. And I want to
Sure.
change some of the artwork because I draw also.
Wow.
Yeah. And I can
Wow.
paint.
Wow.
So that's one
Okay.
of my paintings in the back. Um,
Sweet.
I'll get to this in a second, too. We have a lot in common.
Yes,
uh,
sir.
now,
Wow.
with that story is called The Patterns of Love. And what it is, it's a story about someone with vitiligo, and our spots are patterns, but it's not just about
Mm.
the patterns on our skin, but it's the patterns in relationships.
Gotcha.
And I feel like it's a feel good relationship story, and it is based on myself. I am the lead character,
Okay.
but the fictional part is the young lady that you meet in the story that she doesn't exist, not a real person,
Hmm.
but I feel like the scenario is something that could truly happen in somebody's life.
Sure.
And so I'm gonna finish that up, and I do want to. I'll probably put it out as a ebook. I had it as an
Nice.
ebook, but I took it
Nice.
down because I wanted
Okay.
to change it,
Sure.
or do some more editing to it. But it was fun to write. I was like, okay. Now this is actually based on a story. It's a poem, but it's also a story called
Okay.
"The Pride." It's a vitiligo story,
Hmm.
and it's really about a lion that develops vitiligo. And
Hmm.
in the story of the pride, he loses his pride, his
Wow.
family, and the pride he has within himself because he's seeing himself change.
Mm.
But towards the end of the story, he develops a new family. He meets a
Okay.
new family.
Okay.
I do want to make that into a book.
Nice.
But what I
Nice.
did is actually a video on my YouTube page. You scroll down to the top or bottom, it's somewhere in there, maybe at the top.
Sure.
It's actually a audio story, and I use it when I do presentations for kids. I'll let
Okay.
them hear it and see it. So I think I'm using my creativity, having fun, discovering writing can be fun, you
Yeah.
know, but it also can be challenging.
Yes, it can.
Let,
Yes,
let's
it
let's
can.
talk about some of the challenges, and then we'll go to the triumphs.
Okay.
What are some of the challenges you face when you're writing your stories?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know in your writing, but whenever I write, God always gives me the ending first. It's
Mm,
like, this is how it's going to end. Now you've got to go from the beginning and come to this same ending.
right,
So that in itself is a challenge because as I'm writing, okay, I know how it ends, and then I'm looking at the flow of the play, and I'm look at the characters, trying to make sure that they're saying what they need to say, ultimately trying to get to the end that I've envisioned. Um, I think the biggest challenge for a writer, to be honest with you, is just really for me is what I have on paper, is it going to work on stage?
right.
Because I have all this, and I get pretty crazy in my thought. I mean, my wife or anybody who's worked with me, I get pretty crazy. And, I'm looking going, "Ooh, that may not work on stage too much.
Right,
But then, you have to tweak it. The other challenge too is when people are watching this play, how is it going to impact them? you
right,
know, is what I'm writing going to make a positive impact in their life? Is it going to change something in their life? Or maybe if it's not them, it'd be somebody they know. I've seen so many plays recently where we're going in, my wife and I are going in, and they walk away going, what did we just see?
right,
We just spent 25, $30 for something that we're more confused now than when we did when we first,
right,
came in. So, one of the challenges for me as a writer to make sure that the story makes sense. I mean, you could put a bunch of words together and go, oh man, that is great. But when the person is reading it, are they going to be able to understand what you said? Are they going to be able to feel your passion? So that's just some of the struggles that I have as a writer, is just making sure, one, the story makes sense, it has a good flow, if what you wrote is going to work on stage, and how is it going to impact your audience.
Right. And I find I get that writer's block at times. Like I'll have that motivation. I'm writing, and then
Yeah.
one day it's just like, I'm done. I need a break. And then
Yeah.
trying to find that moment to come back to it, because I'll look at it
Yes,
and I'm
sir.
like, I don't feel like it. And then all of a
Yep.
sudden it comes back like a flood, like, oh, I'm writing and putting
Yes,
stuff
sir.
out. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting. Now,
Hmm.
I've only written one play in my life.
Hmm.
That was for a school.
Okay.
This was probably 2019. And I wrote a play called The Foxborough Christmas Carol. It's based on the Christmas Carol.
Okay.
Um, and I had fun doing it. Like it was actually an improv play, because we had a
Hmm.
little bit of dialogue.
Okay.
We only had a little bit of time to put this play on, and I had
Yeah.
the students, and hey, this is going to happen at this moment, this time. I do like improv, so I have fun with that. But I felt like, oh, okay, this wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Now, my mother, she writes plays, or used to.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so we would perform all of her plays at church.
Hmm.
So like
Yeah.
you said, looking for a message. And she's had some powerful plays, but she's kind of like me, like, nah, I just want to keep it here. I don't want to do it all out here.
Right.
Um, and how, let me ask you this.
Sure.
As people are listening, they're like, oh, I would like to get into playwriting. And
Hmm.
how do you get your vision to go from just here with yourself to other companies, other people, and
Right.
to make it into a bigger production?
Gotcha. That's a very, very good question. And to be truthful, it's not really an easy answer. Um, Really, at first, it starts with the passion, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. I mean, if the passion is not there, if the calling is not there,
Right.
then it's really, I mean, you're kind of setting yourself up. I don't want to say for failure, but you're really setting yourself up for not enjoying that work. You really have to have the passion for writing and determine, okay, what do I really enjoy doing?
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm 62, and my playwriting started in 1999.
Right.
Um, there were so many times I wanted to give up. I'm not gonna lie to you. And there were some years I was spitting out 4, 5, 6 plays a year. There were some years where I was doing good just to get out one.
Right.
And if it wasn't for that passion to continue on, I I don't think I've ever gotten to the amount of plays that I wrote. But it really starts with having that passion. It really starts with just kind of looking at your life, things to write about, and just kind of going from there. And also to surrounding yourself with good people. As I began to write plays, I began to see some of the same people at various theaters and various plays. So I would kind of tap them on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I'm writing this play. What do you think?" So we started having play readings,
Oh, okay.
and I would have them at my house. And I mean, they would be arguing back and forth about this character, that character, going, "Oh my God, this is great!" you know, I mean, and in fact, even one play was so intense, it was almost a fifth fight. I'm going, "Guys, it's
Oh,
not that
wow.
serious. It is not that serious," and especially with the play not being true, you know.
Right.
But I mean, but the writing was so detailed and people got so engrossed in it.
Right.
I was like, okay, wow, maybe I do have a gift for this.
Right.
So you really have to kind of do the homework and then test the water to see how others are feeling about the work that you put out.
And I can imagine, people that are reading the plays and or acting, they're going to find something that they connect with.
Yes,
And they
sir.
might, just like in church when the pastor's giving the sermon, they're not
Hmm.
necessarily talking about you, but you take something from it like, ooh,
Yes, sir.
they're talking about me. They
Yep.
know exactly what I did or didn't do. They know
Hmm.
how I reacted to that.
Yep. Hmm.
And as sometimes we start feeling that, oh, I can relate to this situation, or I've
Yeah.
been through this situation before, or I'm going through it right now,
Right.
and you make that connection. So
Hmm.
I think that
Hmm.
is so important. Not just somebody who's reading a play, even like when I watch a movie, sometimes I can see certain scenarios. I'm like, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Hmm.
oh, I understand how that person feels, or maybe I would react differently than that
Yeah.
person. I would have done
Exactly.
this.
Exactly.
And of course, we always say that, and when it comes time, we don't do that. We freeze. Like, oh, I don't know what to do.
Yep, that is so true. That is so true. But the one thing Mark also must realize too is that, and my minister often says, sometimes you're given something and it's not for you, but for someone else who can use that same word. You may end up having that word used for yourself down the road, but it may be for someone else right now who needs that. And
Right.
so, God may use you to go to that person and say, hey, look, this is what, your situation, think about doing this and also try to encourage that person to get through their time.
Absolutely. And I've had that conversation with a colleague about, why why I'm doing this podcast. Because, I tell people I'm not in it for the numbers, and I understand this is a society that says you got to have the big numbers. You got to have this to monetize this. Well, I'm not doing this to monetize it. I'm doing this to reach
Mm,
somebody because
wow.
there's somebody out there who needs to hear a message.
Yep.
And maybe it's one or two people, but it's something that's going to touch them in their lives and maybe it helps them through whatever the next journey is or the next step.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't want to get lost in the shuffle of, you know, the audience is so big that you never
Mhm.
know how you're connected with people,
Yeah. Mhm.
and and that's just, I think that's how I see things anyway.
Mhm.
It's not always about the crowd; it's about who you're touching in the crowd.
Correct. Correct.
Um, let's talk about triumphs in plays because we have those challenges, but there's also those
Yes, sir.
triumphs when we get to the end. It's like, yes, I got through this. You
Yes.
know, can you describe maybe one moment when you've had that triumph and how did it make you feel, and what did it do for you beyond that?
Gotcha. There was a play that I wrote called "Where Are You, Christmas?" Of course, going back to Christmas,
Right.
and the way the play was done, I had a person in the audience, and he came to me and said, "Mr. Glover, had I not watched this play, I would have thought it was about me."
Mm,
He's like, "You gave a story that resembled mine so closely, it was scary." And he said, "I want to thank you for it because it's going to allow me to get closer to my family. My family I hadn't contacted in years. And
wow.
the way the play ended, the gentleman called his parents and basically said, you know what, it's time to build our relationship back because he had not contacted them for years. And through a series of events, it really made him think about the important things such as family. So when he came to me, and he literally had tears in his eyes,
Wow.
and he said, Mr. Glover, I can't thank you for doing this because now I know what I have to do and reconnect with my family. And, as a writer, sometimes you really take for granted, hey, everybody's going to enjoy it because
Right.
most of the people in the audience are people they're patting the back, say, hey, job well done, but did you really do a good job?
Right.
Was the play really as good as they say it was? But when you have a total stranger to walk up to you and say, hey, I resonated with this play and I really thank you for what you did because it encouraged me to do what I knew I should have been doing, but I just didn't want to do it. And you helped me break that barrier. That was probably the most triumphant moment I've had as a writer.
Wow. And that's important. Now I can't say that as a writer. I can say it as a teacher.
Mm,
When you connect with the student,
yeah.
and you just don't know it until the following year. Like we just had meet the teacher night, and I had a student that throughout the years had some challenges,
Sure.
as we all do.
Hmm.
But this student was like, "Hey, Mr. Braxton, guess what?" And I'm thinking, he said, "Guess what I did over the summer?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, you went somewhere fun." He's like,
Right.
"No." He said, "I was reading over the summer. I was writing over the summer. I did
Wow.
math over the summer." And he was excited. I'm like, "Oh, for real?"
Wow.
I mean, to see this breakthrough with this
Mhm.
child. And then the mom came by and said the same thing. She said, "I'm so proud of him because this is a child that didn't want to read, didn't want to write, didn't want to do any work, and seeing
Wow.
his passion for it now." And I think a lot of it is encouragement.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, even I say, even for you as a playwright, we write, or just people that write, we write.
Yeah.
But then when you hear somebody say, "That was a great job, you did awesome on that," or "I connected to it," it
Hmm.
makes you feel good. It makes
Yes.
you realize, okay, that was the purpose of this play. It wasn't just a play, but it
Right.
had a message in it for somebody out there, and it's so
Exactly.
important. And
Exactly.
yeah, and those are those blessings you just go like, wow, for real.
Yeah.
But I always say God knows what people needs in that
Yes, he does.
moment, and He also knows what we need, and we got to
Right.
be open to it. And I would
Yeah.
say obey, because sometimes He'll tell you to write something. You're like, oh, write
Yeah.
that. Write
Exactly.
it. No, I don't want to write it. Then you say day 3, write it. No, then you're like, okay, I gotta
Exactly.
write it now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you honestly, Mark. Another moment for me, and this actually happened pretty recently. Our church has a female pastor, Pastor Sherry Nesbitt,
Yes.
and our church actually just celebrated 126 years of existence today. Actually, well, about 4 years ago, she was elected our first female pastor. Well, I wrote a play where, or actually a skit rather, where at the end it acknowledged her as being the first female pastor of the church.
Wow.
And of course, I work in media with camera. And we had a camera directly on her, and she just broke down crying. And the whole church was just clapping and jumping and praising God. And that to me was a very special moment because I didn't think she'd react that way. And I really didn't think the church was going to react that way. But I mean, it was probably a 5 minute ovation just the way that play ended. And that was another triumphant moment that really makes, you know what, it was worth it. It was worth the time putting in this play or putting the effort to write this play, actually.
And you know what's funny? She may not remember me. She was actually on my podcast when I was doing a radio podcast.
Really?
Yeah. We met her at an event you guys had at your church, and we set up
Okay.
like a vitiligo table and everything. And she came
Sure.
by. I didn't know that was your pastor.
Okay.
And then she
Okay.
started something she mentioned. And I said, well, would you be interested in coming onto the podcast? And,
Uh-huh.
just kind of share and talk. And maybe it was, didn't she have a song or something she did?
She actually has written and sing songs. Yes, sir.
Okay.
She sure
And
has.
that's what it was. And so I had her on the podcast, and gosh, I may still have it in my archives. I have to see if I can find it.
Okay.
Great conversation. We talked about faith and everything.
Sure.
Um, and then she actually came out, if I'm not mistaken, that following October, we used to have our picnic for the vitiligo community. And she
Okay.
came out to celebrate with us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that
Oh,
was
wow.
pretty
That's
awesome.
awesome. That is awesome.
So
Yes.
good to know she's still there. That's good.
Yeah, she's still there. In fact, actually, like I said, she did a phenomenal job. And like I said, at that moment to see her so emotional,
Yeah.
that was something that I was not expecting. That was really a moment I'll never forget. I'll never forget.
Wow. Wow. Those moments are powerful. They're very
Yeah.
important. Um, let's do this. Let's talk
Sure.
real quick. Advice for upcoming writers,
Yes.
maybe our young people or older people who are interested in writing, but sometimes um, just afraid to take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
What are some advice you can give them?
Sure. Two things off the cuff. One, just write it. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about commas. Don't worry about nothing. Just write it. Just let your mind flow because what a lot of people get stuck in, and I'm a little bit, I'm raising both hands here, that when I wrote, I was worried about, okay, do I use or do I use am, do I,
Right,
and then you become frustrated. So just let your thoughts flow. You can come back and edit it later,
right,
you know. So that's my first advice. Second one is don't be afraid to tell the story. Now, how you present it, I mean, if this is something you keep between you and your computer, that's obviously up to you.
right,
But don't be afraid to tell your story because again, what you have on paper may change somebody's life. It may
right,
help somebody's life. You may turn somebody off drugs. You may turn somebody off suicide. You may help somebody's day be a lot brighter. So don't be afraid to tell the story. And then thirdly, surround yourself around good people in the industry. Whether you're an author of a book, whether you're a playwright, poetry, get you a nice circle of friends and have a nice community with them. Those are really the three things I think would really help your craft, help be better as a writer. And don't always pick your friends.
Right.
um, Pick those who don't really know you because you know how friends are. Most, yeah, man, that was great. You know, you did a great job. And of course, your head gets this big.
Yeah,
And then when you actually give it to somebody else, they're like, this is not really that good.
right.
And then you start questioning your gift. So have a nice mixture of those you can trust and certainly those people who don't know hardly anything about
Absolutely.
you. Hmm.
Absolutely. Very good advice. All right. So, Chris, we're going to get to our last topic I want to discuss. This for my listeners out here, those for people that know me, I'm introverted by nature. Some people are like, well, you do the podcast and you do this, you do that. Yeah, I could go on the stage, I can present, I
Yeah.
can, long as I'm on the stage, because that means I have control. Once I get out in that crowd, it's like, um, I like people, but when there's too many of y'all, sometimes y'all don't know how to act. So, and on that note, I said acting. So some of you know I've done acting at a school and at the church, but I finally have been given an opportunity to do some acting on a little bit bigger scale. And I'm excited. So Miss Janita met me at an event, and Katrina said, "Oh yeah, Mark can do it." She needed an actor, and I'm like, "Sure,
Sure.
yeah." Well, I get to be the guy to hold up the water bottle. Hey, here's your water, and that's it. No, it's not that. It's a much bigger role in a major play.
Oh my gosh.
Chris, can you share a little bit about the play without giving anything away?
Yes, sir. Well, the play that Mark is sharing that he's doing that you're talking about is called Murder at the Cotton Club, and it's based on the Cotton Club back in the 20s, and the Cotton Club. Let me just get this kind of the scenario of the play,
Yes.
or
Oh yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. It's based on the Cotton Club is in 1928, and Detective Donovan Sinclair is 3 months from retiring after serving 30 years as one of the nation's top homicide detectives. However, when Cotton Club owner Joe Johnson is murdered, he is who has more enemies than friends. Everyone who is associated with him is a prime suspect. However, as Detective Sinclair is about to solve this murder, he realized that he has overlooked one piece of evidence and ties the murder to a person no one ever suspected.
And everybody's a suspect.
Yes, yes, yes.
Except for the person who gets murdered. That person's not a suspect. Can I say that? So in this play, I do have the honor of being the Cotton Club owner, Joe the Ripper Johnson. So yes, some people will see me out of character, but that's okay. You'll see me in the character. But it's so much fun. I would say it's a lot of work when you're acting and rehearsing and trying to memorize lines, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm gonna say this from being an outsider because most of the cast have had an opportunity to either work together in some capacity. I'm the newbie coming in, like I don't know anybody. Hold on. Okay, all right. So, you've been in several plays. All right, and you too. Oh, you sing. Okay, I don't sing. Oh, all right. And at first I was a little intimidated, but I'm getting to know everyone, and I feel like we're becoming a family now.
Yeah,
And I'm really enjoying myself and looking forward to it. It's like, oh, rehearsal time. Yes,
yeah,
let's go.
yeah.
So
I, yeah, yeah.
let me say this real quick.
Please,
Thank you. I'm gonna
no,
say thank you
please.
for allowing me to be a part of it. That's the biggest
Okay.
thing. So now on to you. Sorry, Chris.
No. You're fine. I mean, honestly, this has been the most energetic experience I think to date for any plays I've written. When I met the Spencers and who founded Bags, which is being a grandparent support. When
Yes.
they first came to me about this play, my wife looked at me and was like, "You can do it." I said, "Sweetheart, I know nothing about 1920s. I wasn't even born then." Okay,
Right.
and just with doing a little bit of Google research, one thing led to another, and here we have it. Um, I am very proud of this work. I'm very proud of all of you who have bought into the vision. You know, when the Spencers first got it, and I'll be very honest with you, I've already shared it with y'all, they didn't like it
Yeah.
because it was really over the top of what they were expecting. But after discussing it with a mutual friend of ours, they said, let's be different. And so Miss Janita kind of started seeing it differently and bought into it. And now, Mark, you know for yourself, she's at the rehearsals,
Yes.
she's texting me, she's emailing me, and she's really gotten into it. And this has really been such an incredible experience with seeing everybody in their character. Mark, you've been phenomenal.
Thank you. I
I,
appreciate that.
I, I cannot tell you because when she brought you to me, you know, my first thought was, okay, there's a lot of lines here.
Yeah.
But you have just taken it as your own, and I really can't wait to see. I cannot wait to see until all this comes together. I really can't.
And you know, it's funny when I started reading through it, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of lines. But I said, I'm going to learn my parts. I'm going to be determined to learn every line. And you know, one of the things I'm doing for people that I don't know if you're in plays, I'm reading it. I've recorded it several times. I got it on my phone. I'll put the earbuds in listening to it. I'm in the car listening. I know people at the lights are like, why is he arguing with this dashboard? Hey, mind your business. You know, I'm doing what I need to do because this is how I need to do it for the play. You don't understand. Like, now turn around at the light and look forward. And then I went to the park. Remember the day I said I was at the park, and I had my papers out, and I'm reciting my lines. And you know, you kind of look at people in the park, and like they're looking at me like, "What is he doing?" I'm looking at them like, "Mind your business." Or next time, I need to just put a flyer out here. Come to the play. There we go. This is what's happening. Yes, that's a good thought.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's very exciting, and I'm really enjoying myself. Oh, and for the listeners out there, it is Saturday. September 27th.
Yes, sir.
2025. And for people that might not be familiar, and those that know me, like family members are going to be like, isn't that your birthday? Yes, it is my birthday. So, yes.
No way.
Yes, I get to perform the play on my birthday, and it's going to be fun and exciting. Yes.
Oh, my God. Well, we'll make sure you have some double mushrooms and a balsamic vinegar dressing.
Oh, gosh. And a cake in the back. There we go.
Exactly.
But I'm excited because I feel like this is stepping outside of my comfort zone. And this is allowing me to do something that maybe I feel like this is my redemption for chicking out. Yeah, I guess that's the word, chickening out. for being a punk way back in college and telling HB Cable, no, I'm not going to do it. And now, like, yes, I'm going to do a major play. You know, and it's fun. It's exciting. And I'm looking forward to now. Hopefully, somebody will record because I want to be able to see it also later to say, wow, that was fun. You know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And for the people listening, yes, it is open to the public. If you go to the Bags of Life, and that will be in this podcast towards the end. I will make sure I have all that information there, so you can go to the website. You can purchase your ticket, or if you want to buy an ad to advertise, all that stuff. Just support. Support is so important. Miss Janita's program is so important. It provides support for grandparents. That's exactly what she's doing. So if you know, grandparents take on a lot of the responsibility of raising kids, and not just their children, other children. So, you know, this is a good cause. And you're going to be entertained, and you're going to be able to eat, and you're going to have some fun. And probably when you go home, you'll probably be doing some things from the play. Not going to tell you what they are, but yeah, it's just going to be a fun time.
Well, I love the fact that there's going to be a lot of audience engagement and participation. I think that's the one thing that I'm so looking forward to seeing, not alone just with the laughter, but just with the sing-alongs and so forth. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I really am.
And yes, there will be music, but I'm not singing. Sorry.
Oh, come on, Mark. Come on.
The only time I get to sing is during a school play because our music teacher forces me to sing She said, "You're going to be in this play and you're going to sing this song," and I hate it. I do not like singing at all. Maybe if I had a voice coach, I would be okay. Maybe, I don't know,
Okay.
but
Gotcha.
on my own, nah, I'm good. I don't even want to sing in the shower. Like, what tune was
That's
that? Good Lord,
hilarious.
that was horrible.
That is hilarious.
Mm-mm-mm.
Oh my God.
So yeah, people that really know me, they know I'm silly. I'm
Yes, sir.
serious, but I'm also silly at the same time. I do the same thing when I'm teaching. I'll give you the content, then I'm gonna crack a joke. Because I tell my students laughter is important.
Yes, it
We
is.
got to be able
Yes,
to
it is.
enjoy ourselves because life is tough out here
Yeah.
and it can bring so many challenges. But
Okay.
once again, to people listening, Saturday, September 27th, from 6 to 10. Am
Yes,
I
sir.
correct? Yep, 6
That's
to
correct.
10.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna dress your best. You're gonna come in looking fancy and fly. No t-shirts, no sneakers, no jeans, none of that. Wear your best 1920s outfit. Go get a haircut and
There you
come
go.
in and look fly and fresh.
And, and Mike, the location is going to be at the Life Enrichment Center at 3805 Tar Heel Club Road in Raleigh.
Absolutely. As I always say, I have allergies, so you'll have to excuse me. Sometimes I will cough. Everything outside I'm allergic to, so I'm still dealing with my allergies. But we're gonna have fun.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
I'm looking forward to this. And I would say go out and support other plays that are out there as well. There are many other playwrights.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes we get tied into, oh, I'm going to go to the DPAC and support this huge play, and they're great and wonderful. But you also have some local people who are doing local plays that are
Oh
so
my
important
gosh.
for you to
I
support.
agree. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So,
Yes,
Chris,
yes,
we
sir.
are at the end of our show. This has been great. This has been lovely. I've enjoyed it so much. Actually, I could probably talk for another 2 hours, but I'm not going to do that.
Oh man.
Look, I got to get ready for tomorrow. First day of school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
first
remember
day
those
of school
days.
back. Absolutely. But let's do this. I always
Please.
like to ask my guests to leave our listeners with words of encouragement about
Yes, sir.
anything. So
Yes,
if you'll do that, and then I'll wrap things up for us.
Mark, I'd be honored. And again, I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to share thoughts and our passion and just have this moment together. So I thank you certainly for your time and for the invitation to be on your show. Really, the words of encouragement, Mark, to be honest with you, is don't give up. You know, I'm a man of faith. Like I said, I love God, but giving up can apply to anybody. So if it's something that you believe in, something you're passionate about, don't give up. Find a way to keep it going. You mentioned writer's block.
Right.
I'll often go down to the beach. My wife and I would take a trip to the beach, and honestly, sometimes she say, "Chris, I know you need to get some thoughts out. You go, and I'll catch up with you later." So, we had that me time, and then we had that together time.
Right.
But just do not give up. Find ways to keep yourself encouraged. Also, too, is don't be afraid to test the waters. I mean, like I say, sometimes we get crazy ideas, we get crazy thoughts. Say, I can't write about that. Well, I'll be honest with you. Out of 35 plays I've written, I bet you at least 20 of them I cannot relate to. But
Right.
but just because of the gift that was given to me, I was able to write. But just find ways to encourage yourself. And the third piece of advice I would give, which I'm still guilty of this day, know when to take a break.
Yes. Yes.
Because I can get, my wife would tell you, I'll have one eye closed and I'm still on the keyboard typing. She has literally had to close the keyboard on my finger and say, honey, go to bed.
Right.
So, whether you're a minister, whether you're a teacher, whatever you are, whatever you do in life, you have to take a break.
Yeah.
Whether you stay home and watch TV, you go to the beach, to the mountains, find that outlet that will re-energize you and that will keep you encouraged and will allow you to go to the next phase. So those are really my pearls of wisdom, if you will, for your listening audience out there.
And it's not just for them. I had to take it for myself. You said take a break, man, Chris. I'm one of those people. I'm involved in everything. I'm doing this. I'm taking classes. I'm doing this over here. And I've had a friend write down everything I'm doing. And she said, so when do you have time for yourself?
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
went to the beach this weekend, had a lovely time at
Wow.
the beach. I didn't get in the water because
Okay.
of the storm. They told people don't get
Sure.
in the water, but just to
Sure.
be there, just to be able
Yeah.
to relax.
Yep.
Because that's something I haven't done in such a long time, just to look at the waves and watch the
Yep.
birds and,
Mhm.
looking at the clouds. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, I need
Yeah.
to do this again.
Yeah. There
So
you go.
hopefully
There
I
you
can get
go.
another one in soon before it gets too cold. But that is so important. You've got to take time for yourself to
Mhm.
enjoy the things you enjoy, not the work.
Yeah.
And I've had to push myself to do that too, because I know me. I will work, 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 and that's not good for us. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially for men. Sorry,
Yeah.
we will work ourselves into our graves if we are allowed to do that.
Yes, sir.
But it's also good to have somebody in your corner that says, stop.
Yep.
Nope, don't put it down, just stop and
Exactly.
enjoy life for the moment. So once again, Chris, I thank you for being here. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
This has been a great conversation. So no worries, I'm gonna have you back later. We're gonna come back after the play and talk about that. I
I
think
would
that'd
love
be
to.
great. Yes.
I'd be honored. I would love to. I would
Awesome,
love to.
awesome, awesome. And for the listeners, as I always say, this is living life and love, because I want you to be able to live your lives. We are so tied into so many other things, but it's important to live your life,
Yeah.
but not just live it, but live it through love.
Mhm.
And I always talk about love. And this is how I always end my shows. That love is so important. And it's
Mhm.
not just love for yourself. We'll get to that. It's love for your family members,
Yeah.
those you talk to and those you don't, for
Mhm.
your spouse, even when you have those challenging moments, for
Yeah.
your kids. I understand kids get challenging. We know that. But your kids really need you in this moment, in this time, in these days, no matter their age.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
stranger on the street that you might run into, we don't know what people are dealing with. And sometimes we'll see
Amen.
somebody that's, oh, they're acting weird. You don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And even if you
Yeah.
don't talk to them, you can show love by praying for that person right there,
Exactly.
even if you're praying in
Exactly.
silence.
Yep.
That person that cut you off on the road, I always say that. You don't know what they're dealing with, and they might need a little bit of love and a little bit of grace in that moment
That's
after you
true.
get yourself together, after you gather yourself and gather your thoughts. And
So
you have to
true.
realize, I don't know why they're rushing to get home. Maybe
Mhm.
something happened.
Yeah.
We don't know. And I
Yeah.
say for coworkers, colleagues, everybody needs love. This world needs love, because world
If that's
this
true.
world is starving, and we see it every day. You turn on the news that there's a lack of love. We need more of it, you
Yes, we
know.
do. Yes, we
And
do.
most of all, I feel like before you can show love to anybody else, you have to show love to yourself. Look in that mirror, tell yourself I love you, because I guaranteed a lot of us did not do that today. You might have looked in the mirror,
Mm,
fixed your hair, did your eyebrows, mustache, whatever you're doing, if you put on lashes,
right.
makeup,
Right.
but did you stop to say I love you? Most
Wow.
of us don't do that.
Well, that's powerful.
So
That's powerful.
once again, Chris, thank you for being here. For the listeners, thank you for being here. You have been listening to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Y'all take care and peace.